Today I want to talk to you about the difference between traditional therapy versus optimal happiness. Now, therapy, in my opinion, doesn't have an end. You go to the therapy and you can be there for months, years. A lot of people just come in for one session and then they're subscribed for for their whole lives. Why? It's because people have always issues. They can go always to talk about their emotions, about their problems, and it's indefinite. And in optimal happiness, the difference is that there is an end. We actually create the happiest people alive. We put an end to the suffering, to problems, to emotional distress. I mean, we don't fix everything there is to fix in the world, but because we aim at the finish line, we provide tools to consistently go and be at that finish line. People don't have to suffer. They don't have to process the emotions. They already have the right tools to do so. And let me ask you this. If you go to a therapist, will you come out one of the happiest people alive? And the answer is probably not, because therapists, especially when you go to there, you probably have a problem, right? And you want to fix that problem. Now, there is usually not only one reason why you have a problem, but there is like reasons from 1 to 5, right? And usually the starting problem with which you come in to therapy is just the beginning of the work. But in order to address this, you need to address several issues. And again, I'm not talking down about therapy. It's really important. But in optimal happiness, we address almost like therapy, almost one of the pillars of happiness. But there's several pillars of happiness. There's several steps that a person needs to go through in order to have the life worth living. And personally, I don't think that therapy addresses this. Something else that therapy doesn't address is the structural problems behind the problems with which people come in. So, for example, if you have a depression and you come into office and say, I have depression, the therapists say, well, why? Let's fix your depression, right? Let's give you the tools that you don't feel bad about yourself. But if there is a real reason why this situation is causing you a depression, that's not the job of the therapist to fix it. So, for example, if your house is on fire and you come into the therapist's office and say, well, I feel bad, my house is on fire, he's like, all right, let's fix your emotions. So you're kind of happy or coping with your house on fire, but they do little to nothing to fix the house. And this is one of the big criticism I have personally towards therapy generally. But on the other hand, I also provide people with tools that they can live in the society where they live in, and they can be as happy as they can be in that specific situation. Now, I'm saying that I cannot fix all the problems in the world, and every person gonna have different set of issues. But generally speaking, the work goes into fixing the life to make it as close as possible to this model of perfect happiness. And quite honestly, it really doesn't matter where you are from, who you are, what you like, circumstances. You can be as happy as you can be if you apply those tools. And again, I kind of mentioned it in other videos, saying that some of the problems that we have today as a society, as human beings, our anxieties, problems, all of that come from because we're not living our best lives. Yes, your house is on fire and people feel bad and they don't know why they feel bad, and then they go to therapists, right? And this is the problem, often by addressing the house which is on fire, by addressing the concrete issues which people have in their lives, a lot of their negative emotions are addressed automatically. So there is no need to be negative. Why are you negative? You don't have any problems, So why do I need to talk about my childhood? Sure, I had some things happen back then. Sure, I have millions of little traumas here and there, It's to be alive is to suffer. I heard that quote, right? But it just happens, the life happens, If you take your life as the suffering, if that's what you see in front of you, then you can never live your best life. You can never be as happy as you can be. But on the other hand, if you learn the right tools to be as happy as you can be, then again, all the therapy is done for you. It's gone. It's automatic. There is no need to go to a therapist's office. You don't have a reason to do that. And of course, I can say that there is a life learning, personal growth, personal development, all those terms. But we are focusing on the quickest way to get to that point. And there is million solutions nowadays to happiness, but my job as an optimal happiness coach is to get you the fastest from A to B without having to address all that negativity and those problems that people usually come to the office of therapists, right? And while I will address those issues as much as a therapist will, but I just have a slightly different approach. We focus on the end goal and we break down your life in accordance that you can live that life as soon as possible. Instead of going down up from your problems to your optimal life, we start from your optimal life and we break it down and you go to your problems. And often by doing this, again, this part, lower part, gets automatically resolved, right? But otherwise, opposite doesn't work. If you start focusing on your problems, it's very rare that you're gonna get to your optimal life. Because if you could, you would already be there. So let's take traditional psychology. Traditional psychology was working with negative emotions, right? It wasn't until 1998 with Martin Seligman, who is considered father of positive psychology, who came and he said, well, we see that just focusing on the problems doesn't create positive emotions, right? And so he said, okay, positive psychology, you're gonna now study the positive aspect of human experience and understand in order to address that issue essentially. And what he found out is, well, he found a lot of interesting things, but one thing that did not happen is that he never created the optimally happy individuals, because while he was studying positivity, generally speaking, the question of how to be happier, well, there is billion solutions on the market today for how to be happier. Just eat an ice cream, or just get a promotion, or buy a new car. But the thing is, people who've done those things that typically correlate to higher well-being, to happiness, they're still not happy as they can be. And why is that? It's because they're still not looking at the finish line, the optimal potential. They're not starting from that point and breaking it down to reach wherever. If it could have happened, it would have happened. And unfortunately, if you are not there yet, that's probably just because you are not given the right tools. And the tools presented on market today, unfortunately, therapy and stuff like that, it's just not designed in a proper way to take you to that point. And even if I listen to some therapists, I'm not trying to bash the therapists. I think they're doing really important job. As much as I have to do therapy whenever I do my work with my clients, is they do important work and it's important, but it just doesn't get you there. There is no finish line. If I can give you like X amount of classes or sessions and you will become your happiest potential, then after this work is done, sure, we can do a little bit more work, always, right? We can always do a little bit more work, but the formula is there. The bulk of the work is done. So technically speaking, after a few sessions with me, you never have to have another session and you're already living your best life. So a lot of other things, like again, ice cream, promotion, stuff like that, become almost like irrelevant. If you have enough, you are enough, you are happy, and that's it. And a lot of my clients, what they realize is that they completely change the way how they look at life, because a lot of their priorities as they were before, they're just not relevant for them. It's not relevant, and therefore they don't do it. Why do I need a brand new car when I have a nice car? People who do those things, they do it for status, etc., etc. But I'm already happy. I don't need that extra validation of my emotions, etc. So this is just the difference between therapy and optimal happiness. And if you want to find more, please contact me or visit my website at optimalhappiness.com. Thank you very much. Bye bye.